Most men assume competence is something they demonstrate after they speak, after they explain an idea, after they present results, after they prove themselves. But in most professional environments, people begin forming conclusions long before any of that happens. Before your first sentence, before your introduction, before you even sit down. And that creates an uncomfortable reality. Some men walk into a room and are immediately perceived as more capable, more trustworthy, and more authoritative than others. Not because they are smarter, not because they have better credentials, and not because they have achieved more. They simply understand something most people overlook. Competence is not only evaluated, it is anticipated. The human brain constantly searches for shortcuts. In a busy workplace, nobody has enough time to thoroughly analyze every person they meet. So people rely on signals. Small signals, silent signals, the signals that shape social perception before a conversation even begins. And this is where many men unknowingly lose influence. They focus entirely on skills while ignoring the psychological framework through which those skills are judged. You may have experienced this yourself. Two people present the same idea. One receives immediate attention. The other struggles to be heard. Two employees have similar performance. One is viewed as leadership material. The other remains invisible. The difference often has less to do with ability than most people want to admit. Because workplace psychology is rarely fair. People don't just evaluate what you know. They evaluate how likely you appear to know it. That distinction changes everything. The moment someone sees you, they begin asking unconscious questions. Can I trust this person? Do they seem reliable? Do they appear emotionally stable? Would I follow them during uncertainty? Do they look like someone who handles responsibility well? These judgments happen incredibly fast, and once formed, they become surprisingly difficult to reverse. This is why some men constantly feel like they are fighting uphill battles. They walk into every meeting needing to prove what others are automatically given. Not because they're incapable, but because they haven't learned how professional image influences perception. And before you dismiss that as superficial, consider something important. Every executive understands perception. Every leader understands perception. Every successful organization understands perception. Because perception affects opportunity. Opportunity affects exposure. And exposure affects outcomes. The world does not always reward competence first. Sometimes it rewards visible competence first. That reality may be frustrating, but ignoring it won't make it disappear. One of the strongest signals of perceived competence is emotional control. Most people expect confidence to look loud. They imagine strong opinions, dominant personalities, constant self-promotion. But experienced professionals often interpret confidence differently. They watch for stability. The man who doesn't rush, the man who doesn't panic, the man who doesn't need constant validation, the man who remains composed when pressure increases. This creates a fascinating psychological effect. Calmness is frequently mistaken for capability, and in many cases, that's not entirely wrong. People assume that if someone remains steady during uncertainty, they must have experience navigating it. Executives often see this very differently than younger professionals. They aren't impressed by energy alone. They're impressed by control. Anyone can appear confident when everything is going well. Authority becomes visible when things become difficult. And this is where many men quietly sabotage themselves They try too hard. They over-explain. They over-talk. They rush to prove intelligence. Ironically, these behaviors often create the opposite impression, because excessive effort can signal insecurity, and insecurity immediately affects social perception. The most respected professionals rarely feel the need to constantly advertise their value. Their behavior suggests they already know it exists. That subtle difference is powerful. Another factor is consistency. People trust patterns, not moments, not isolated performances. Patterns. A man who appears disciplined creates an assumption of competence because discipline is visible evidence of self-management. If someone cannot manage themselves, others naturally question whether they can manage responsibility. This applies to everything: communication, appearance, punctuality, preparation, workplace behavior, follow-through. The details may seem small individually, but together they create a psychological story. And people believe stories long before they verify facts. Imagine two employees arriving at an important meeting. One consistently arrives prepared, organized, focused, calm. The other arrives unpredictably, sometimes prepared, sometimes not. Even if their technical abilities are similar, people will naturally trust the first person more. Not because of proven superiority, because predictability feels safe, and trust is often the foundation of workplace respect. Here's something even more interesting. Many people confuse attention with authority. The two are not the same. Attention is easy to attract. Authority is much harder to earn. A loud personality may dominate a room, but dominance doesn't automatically create credibility. Real executive presence often works differently. It creates gravity rather than noise. People listen because they expect value, not because volume demands it. You've probably met someone like this. They don't speak constantly. They don't interrupt. They don't compete for attention. Yet when they finally contribute, everyone pays attention. The room shifts. The energy changes. People become more focused. Why? Because authority is often built through restraint. Restraint communicates confidence. Confidence shapes perception. Perception shapes influence. And influence shapes opportunities. There is a story that plays out inside offices every day. A young professional works incredibly hard. He studies. He develops skills. He consistently delivers quality work. Yet he watches others move ahead faster. At first, he assumes politics are involved. Sometimes they are. But often something else is happening. The individuals advancing have learned how to package competence in ways others can immediately recognize. Their communication is clearer. Their professional presence is stronger. Their behavior aligns with leadership expectations. They understand that people need evidence before they offer trust. This realization can be frustrating, because many men want the workplace to function like a pure meritocracy. Input effort, receive reward. But human beings are not machines. They are emotional decision makers, social decision makers, perception-driven decision makers, which means professional image matters whether we like it or not. And the sooner a man understands that, the faster he can work with reality instead of fighting it. Now here's where the conversation becomes deeper. The men who appear most competent often possess a very specific identity. They don't enter situations trying to look important. They enter situations trying to be useful. That sounds subtle, but psychologically, it's enormous. When someone is obsessed with appearing impressive, their behavior becomes performative. When someone focuses on contributing value, their behavior becomes grounded. People can feel the difference. One creates tension, the other creates trust. Trust is the hidden currency of leadership, and trust grows when actions align with purpose. This is why mature confidence feels different from youthful confidence. Youthful confidence often seeks recognition. Mature confidence seeks effectiveness. One asks, "How do I look?" The other asks, "How can I help?" Ironically, the second approach usually generates far more respect, because competence is not only about knowledge, it's about orientation. People naturally gravitate toward individuals who appear focused on solutions rather than self-promotion. And this brings us to another uncomfortable truth. Many men underestimate the role of simplicity. They assume sophistication creates authority. In reality, simplicity often does. The most competent people frequently communicate complicated ideas in straightforward ways. They reduce confusion. They create clarity. They make difficult decisions appear manageable. This is one reason senior leaders often sound calmer than everyone else. They've learned that confusion spreads anxiety, clarity spreads confidence, and confidence spreads trust. Trying too hard to appear intelligent can actually weaken professional presence, because complexity often feels uncertain. Clarity feels capable. The strongest leaders understand this. They don't use communication to impress. They use communication to move people forward. That difference transforms how others perceive them. As careers progress, another shift becomes visible. The men who consistently earn respect are usually not the most aggressive. They're often the most reliable. Reliability creates emotional safety, and emotional safety creates influence. When people know what to expect from you, they begin assigning greater responsibility to you. When responsibility increases, opportunities increase. When opportunities increase, leadership becomes more likely. This process appears gradual, but it begins much earlier than most realize, often before a single word is spoken. Because competence has a visual component, a behavioral component, an emotional component, a psychological component, long before it becomes a technical component. This is why executive presence is so valuable. Executive presence is not pretending. It's not acting. It's not creating a fake personality. It's aligning your external signals with your internal capability. When those two elements match, people trust what they see. And trust accelerates everything. The strongest version of masculinity in professional environments is rarely dramatic. It is composed, intentional, disciplined, reliable, emotionally regulated. The man who remains centered while others become reactive gains an enormous advantage. Not because he demands authority, because people naturally grant it. Authority earned through trust lasts longer than authority demanded through force. And that principle applies in every workplace, every boardroom, every meeting, every negotiation, every leadership opportunity. Your appearance will never replace competence. Your communication will never replace competence. Your confidence will never replace competence. But all of them influence how quickly people recognize competence when it exists. And that may be one of the most important professional lessons a man can learn. Because the goal is not to trick people. The goal is to remove unnecessary barriers between your ability and their perception of it. To build a professional image that reflects who you truly are. To strengthen social perception so your value becomes easier to recognize. to develop workplace behavior that consistently reinforces trust, to cultivate the kind of confidence that doesn't need constant attention, and to build the kind of professional presence that speaks before you do. The men who instantly look competent are not always the smartest men in the room. They are often the men whose actions, habits, discipline, and demeanor tell a coherent story. A story of reliability, a story of self-respect, a story of professionalism. And people trust that story before they hear a single sentence. Because long before competence is evaluated, it is anticipated. And the version of yourself that others meet first often determines how willing they are to discover everything else. If you want to build stronger executive presence and become the kind of professional people naturally trust and respect, subscribe for more videos on workplace psychology, professional image, confidence, leadership, and modern masculine professionalism.